Consider the last time you genuinely focused on your liver. It likely was not your weight, your blood pressure, or your knees, but your specific liver health. For the vast majority of individuals past the age of 55, the honest answer is never once in recent memory. That oversight is precisely where the danger lies, because while your attention has been directed elsewhere, this singular organ has been quietly absorbing the impact of every meal, every drink, and every late dinner for decades. It never sends you a bill, nor does it ache the way an arthritic knee does. Instead, it transforms slowly and silently, meaning that by the time it finally exhibits symptoms, a tremendous amount of change has already occurred internally. Tonight, I want to map out exactly what transpires within your liver between the ages of 55 and 75 if no dietary interventions are made. We will look at this stage by stage, covering what you notice, what remains entirely hidden, and the precise window of opportunity, which is far narrower than most people assume, where the right foods can completely reverse the trajectory. Before we go any further, I want to be entirely transparent with you about the wellness market. There is a massive industry designed around selling you a cleanse for an organ that is already fundamentally self-cleaning. We will discuss why most of those products are a complete waste of your money. If this straightforward, no-nonsense style of explanation resonates with you, I have compiled the comprehensive step-by-step version into a concise, plain language guide titled The Drainage Protocol. This is a practical reset engineered specifically for individuals over 55, addressing the exact metabolic strain we are analyzing tonight. You can find the link in the description below if you are interested, but please know it is not required to follow along with this video, as everything presented here stands perfectly on its own. Let us begin with the exact phrase that likely prompted you to click on this video: cleaning out your liver. You see this concept everywhere, from herbal teas and green juices to detox powders, 3-day flushes, and capsules promising to scrub your internal organs spotless. Let me share the truth with you gently but directly. Your liver is not a dirty household filter that requires manual scrubbing. Your liver is the entity performing the actual cleaning. It is the active cleaner, not the mess itself. This is the most critical conceptual shift in this entire discussion, so please stay focused with me here. Your liver manages roughly 500 distinct corporate biological functions operating every hour of every single day. It neutralizes alcohol, breaks down pharmaceutical medications, regulates your blood sugar levels between meals, packages fat molecules, and filters everything arriving from your digestive tract before it ever circulates to the rest of your body. Hepatologists at Johns Hopkins state quite clearly that the liver is an inherently self-cleaning organ, and there is zero credible scientific evidence that detox teas or commercial cleanse products purify it or improve its function. Worse still, some of those unregulated supplements have been documented to cause acute liver injury. People consume these products to assist the organ, and it ends up inflicting harm instead. Consequently, the objective was never to clean your liver. The true goal is to stop overloading it and to nourish it in a manner that allows it to execute its natural duties. That is a completely different mission, and it is a project you can absolutely succeed at.
Here is the mental image I want you to retain for the rest of our discussion, because every subsequent point relies on it. Picture an old brick chimney, the traditional kind that funnels smoke up and out of a home. When you burn high-quality, dry, seasoned wood, that chimney remains clean, the fire burns hot, and the smoke rises and exits seamlessly. However, if you consistently fuel it with the wrong materials, like wet wood, greasy scraps, or anything that smolders instead of burning cleanly, a dark, sticky, tar-like residue begins to coat the interior walls. This substance is called creosote. At the beginning, that creosote layer is soft, and you could easily brush it away with minimal effort. Yet, if the smoldering fire continues, the layer grows thicker and stickier, causing smoke to back up into the house because the passage is narrowing. If this pattern persists long enough, that soft residue bakes on and hardens into a dense glaze that no standard brush can remove. The most crucial takeaway here is that the primary danger was never the visible fire. The danger was always the invisible accumulation inside the flue. Your liver operates in the exact same fashion. The fat that accumulates within its cells acts just like creosote, and the timeline I am about to outline is the story of that residue changing from soft and removable to sticky, and finally to hard. Let us explore stage 1, which represents what might be occurring right now. If you are over 55 and carrying stubborn weight around your midsection, or managing elevated blood sugar or high blood pressure, there is a strong probability that fat is quietly gathering inside your liver cells at this very moment. The clinical term for this condition is hepatic steatosis, with steatosis simply denoting an accumulation of fat. Doctors now classify this under a broader category known as metabolic dysfunction-associated steatotic liver disease. You do not need to memorize that complex terminology. You just need to visualize fat storing itself where it does not belong. What makes this initial stage so deceptive is that you feel completely normal. You might experience a bit more fatigue than usual, or perhaps a vague sensation of heaviness in the abdomen, but mostly you feel nothing at all. According to medical specialists at the University of Chicago, approximately 100 million Americans are living with a fatty liver right now, which translates to nearly 1 in 3 adults, and the vast majority have no idea. It is typically discovered entirely by accident during routine blood work when two specific liver enzymes, ALT and AST, register as slightly elevated. That is the extent of it. No pain and no warning signs. This represents the soft creosote stage, the phase where you can still easily brush it away. I wanted to emphasize this clearly. At this particular point, the fat accumulation is entirely reversible. It does not just need to be managed or slowed down, it can be undone. A simple fatty liver caught at this stage can completely clear up because the organ is not structurally damaged yet. It is merely overloaded. There is a massive distinction there, and that distinction means everything for your health. Now let us move the timeline forward by perhaps 18 months or a few years. If the metabolic overload persists and the wrong fuel keeps entering the system, the liver stops quietly storing the excess fat and begins reacting to it. The tissue becomes inflamed, a medical state known as steatohepatitis, which combines steatosis, the fat, with hepatitis, inflammation of the liver. This is the smoldering phase where the chimney is no longer just coated, it is actively producing restrictive smoke. How does this stage feel to the individual? Often it still causes very few noticeable symptoms, though this is the point where some people begin to experience a deep, stubborn exhaustion that a good night's sleep cannot remedy. You might also notice a dull sense of fullness directly beneath the right side of your rib cage, while the liver enzymes on your routine blood panels climb higher than before. The Mayo Clinic notes that even this inflamed stage can still be completely reversed, which is incredibly encouraging news. However, the body is now actively battling the internal buildup, the smoke is backing up, and with every month the fuel source remains poor, the residue becomes tougher to clear. I want you to recognize something critical about this progression. No dramatic event occurs to signal the transition. There is no single day where everything goes wrong, which is precisely why people miss the shift. You do not consciously feel yourself crossing the boundary from stage 1 into stage 2. You simply wake up one year and realize that chronic tiredness has become your accepted baseline. Looking 5 years down the road, or sometimes longer, we reach the stage this video was specifically created to help you avoid. When tissue inflammation goes unchecked for an extended period, the liver begins to deposit permanent scar tissue. The medical term for this process is fibrosis, meaning the development of fibrous scarring inside the organ. This represents the creosote finally hardening into that baked-on glaze, and scar tissue cannot perform the vital metabolic work of living liver cells. It simply sits there, stiff and non-functional, occupying space where healthy tissue used to thrive. According to experts at UCSF Health, this scarring develops at a very gradual pace. Each individual stage of fibrosis takes an average of 7 years to progress, which acts as both a profound mercy and a dangerous trap. It is a mercy because it provides you with ample time to intervene, but it is a trap because that long window allows you to easily ignore the underlying issue. Past a certain threshold of advanced scarring, the liver arrives at a stage known as cirrhosis, where so much of the native tissue has been replaced by rigid scars that the organ can no longer recover its function. A long-term follow-up study tracking patients for over a decade confirmed that a significant percentage of individuals with the inflamed form eventually develop this advanced scarring. That is the stubborn chimney glaze that no standard intervention can remove. Now you see the entire progression laid out clearly before you. Soft fat leads to inflammation, which eventually solidifies into hard scar tissue, remaining quiet the entire way down. Here is the turning point and the single most critical message of this entire discussion. Everything prior to the hardening of that scar tissue is fully reversible. The initial fat accumulation is reversible, and the inflamed stage is reversible as well. Even early-stage fibrosis can soften and regress over time. The point of no return is not where most people fear it is. It sits much further down the timeline than the alarming narratives online would lead you to believe. You almost certainly possess more time and space to heal than you think, but that opportunity is not infinite. And it explains why the dietary choices we are about to review matter so urgently right now at your current age compared to when you were 40. The clinical research on this topic is highly encouraging, and I want to deliver it to you directly. The Mayo Clinic reports that reducing your body weight by just 5 to 10% can significantly improve a fatty liver. Furthermore, recent scientific reviews demonstrate that targeted weight and dietary adjustments can successfully reverse fat accumulation, calm tissue inflammation, and in many instances actually shrink early scar tissue. The organ genuinely wants to heal because it is biologically engineered to do so. You simply must stop providing it with the wrong fuel and begin supplying the right components. Be sure to subscribe so you do not miss our upcoming discussions, as these internal mechanisms are deeply interconnected, and the next video builds directly upon this exact health window we are analyzing today.
Before I outline the specific foods, I must pause and establish a definitive boundary because practicing responsibility matters far more than offering cheap reassurance. While most fatty liver progression is completely silent and reversible, certain clinical symptoms indicate that the conversation must immediately shift away from diet and directly toward medical intervention. If you ever notice a yellowing of your skin or the whites of your eyes, or if your abdomen begins to swell or feel tight in an unfamiliar way, you must pay attention. The same applies if you experience persistent pain beneath the right side of your ribs, if your urine turns a dark amber color, or if your stools become unusually pale. Additionally, if you find yourself bruising easily, losing weight without trying, or experiencing unusual confusion and drowsiness, do not wait. You need to contact your healthcare provider immediately. Even in the absence of those warning signs, I highly recommend taking one proactive step. Ask your doctor for a simple liver function blood test to check those ALT and AST enzymes so you can evaluate where you actually stand rather than guessing. If you currently take any prescription medications, always consult your clinician before modifying your routine or introducing any new supplements, because some of the very products marketed for liver health are statistically the most likely to cause hepatic harm. Our strategy tonight centers entirely on whole foods rather than pills, because food is the primary variable within your direct control, so let us examine those options now. We will now review the specific foods that genuinely support your liver, not by trying to cleanse it, but by reducing its metabolic workload and providing the nutrients necessary for self-repair. I have assembled a concise, honest list based on the strongest scientific evidence available, and I want you to view these options as the dry, seasoned wood that burns clean in our chimney analogy. We will start with the one item almost no one expects to hear: coffee. Plain, unsweetened coffee stands as one of the most consistently validated liver-protective substances you can consume. Physicians at the University of Chicago frequently recommend up to 3 cups per day for optimal liver health, and extensive research connects regular coffee intake to lower circulating liver enzymes and a decreased risk of developing scar tissue. There is only one strict condition: no added sugar, no flavored syrups, and no heavy creamers. It must be consumed black or very close to it, as added sweeteners completely negate the clinical benefits. Next up is your green dietary foundation, specifically leafy greens and members of the cruciferous vegetable family. This includes spinach, kale, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, and cauliflower. These vegetables perform a quiet but incredibly powerful function by actively supporting the liver's native, built-in detoxification enzymes, which constitute the real cleansing system that the supplement industry merely pretends to sell you. They also deliver vital dietary fiber, which works to stabilize the blood sugar fluctuations that drive so much of this metabolic stress. A comprehensive national scoping review of liver-friendly diets confirmed that vegetables, whole grains, and this specific type of fiber reside at the very center of every credible medical recommendation. Your goal should be to place something green on your plate during at least 2 of your daily meals.
The third category is fatty fish such as salmon, sardines, mackerel, and trout. These varieties are packed with omega-3 fatty acids, and clinical research suggests that omega-3s can directly reduce the actual fat content inside liver cells while simultaneously calming tissue inflammation. Those are the exact two pathological processes occurring during stages 1 and 2. Aim to incorporate these fish into your meals twice a week, and keep in mind that convenient canned sardines count perfectly, meaning this approach does not have to be expensive. Fourth, you need to focus on integrating the right kinds of fats in place of the wrong ones, viewing this strictly as a nutritional swap rather than an addition to your current diet. The Mayo Clinic points directly to unsaturated options like extra virgin olive oil, avocados, and raw nuts, advising that they be used instead of butter, commercial frying oils, or anything containing hydrogenated ingredients. You keep the same plate, but you change the fat source, and the liver responds beautifully to that shift. When you prepare dinner tonight, simply reach for the olive oil, as that single repeated modification matters far more than any supplement sitting on a retail shelf. Fifth are the polyphenol-rich foods, including walnuts, green tea, and fresh berries. The Mayo Clinic explicitly identifies the plant compounds found in black coffee, green tea, and walnuts as exerting potent antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects that help minimize fat accumulation in the liver. A small handful of walnuts or a morning cup of green tea are incredibly easy habits to fold into your daily routine. Sixth on our list are beans and lentils. These legumes supply abundant fiber alongside a slow-releasing form of complex starch that prevents your blood sugar from spiking rapidly after eating. Population research has consistently linked legume-rich diets to a significantly lower likelihood of developing a fatty liver in the first place. Fresh garlic, intact whole grains, and a diverse array of colorful vegetables round out this highly supportive nutritional cast. If you want the simplest possible distillation of all this dietary science, it points directly to the Mediterranean eating pattern. This is not a restrictive passing fad. It is the single foundational dietary lifestyle that modern liver specialists overwhelmingly recommend to their patients. Now, I want to balance that supportive list by discussing the specific fuels you must actively remove from your routine, because adding high-quality wood to the fire means absolutely nothing if you continue to shovel in wet, smoky debris. The absolute largest contributor to this problem is added sugar, most notably the high-fructose corn syrup found in sweet beverages. Here is the precise metabolic mechanism, because you deserve to understand exactly how your body works rather than just following orders. When you flood your digestive system with that specific form of liquid sugar, your liver reacts by rapidly manufacturing fat. This biological process is known as de novo lipogenesis, which literally translates to creating new fat from scratch. You consume the sugar, and your liver immediately converts it into the exact creosote residue we have been discussing. Therefore, the soda, the sweet tea, and the fruit juice are never neutral choices. They are the direct source of the internal smolder. Following those beverages, you want to minimize fried foods, highly refined white carbohydrates, and excess alcohol consumption. You do not need a dramatic, stressful purge of your entire pantry. You simply need a steady, intentional tilt away from the smolder and toward a clean metabolic burn. Let us establish the actual sequence of action, because a massive, unorganized list of rules rarely helps anyone succeed. Step 1. Replace exactly one sugar-sweetened or alcoholic beverage each day with plain water or a cup of unsweetened coffee. Just focus on changing one single drink to start building momentum. Step 2. Intentionally place a green vegetable on your plate during 2 of your daily meals. Frozen options count perfectly, and keeping it simple is entirely fine. Step 3. Swap your primary cooking fat over to extra virgin olive oil and make a point to bring wild-caught fish onto your plate twice a week. Step 4. Add a serving of beans or lentils a few times a week, utilizing them in place of some of the heavy red meat you might otherwise consume. That represents the entire operational engine, just 4 practical moves rather than 20 complex lifestyle changes. You are not undergoing a radical detox, you are simply upgrading the quality of your fuel. Naturally, you will want to know exactly what to expect and in what sequence, because seeing real progress is what keeps a person motivated over the long haul. Here is the honest timeline of physiological recovery, and you will notice it runs in the exact same direction as the original damage, just in reverse. The accumulated liver fat begins to dissipate first. This is the fastest component to respond to intervention, often showing measurable improvement within a few weeks to a couple of months of altering what you eat. Next, the underlying tissue inflammation begins to settle down, and those circulating liver enzymes on your blood tests will start drifting back toward normal ranges over the subsequent months. The existing scar tissue is always the slowest element to react. Early-stage fibrosis can soften and regress, but that process typically takes many months to a couple of years of consistent habits. Meanwhile, the most advanced scarring may only plateau and stabilize rather than fully reverse itself. This reality underscores precisely why our current window of time matters so much. The earlier in the structural timeline you initiate these changes, the more native function your body can successfully reclaim.
If you want to take action tonight before this video even finishes playing, here is exactly what I would recommend you do. Whatever beverage you were planning to enjoy with your dinner that contains added sugar or alcohol, intentionally swap it out for a glass of water this one time. Tomorrow morning, when you prepare your first cup of coffee, consciously leave the sugar and sweet creamers out of it. Tomorrow evening at dinner, ensure you get something green onto your plate. Finally, sometime this week, call your doctor's office and request that simple liver enzyme blood test so that the next time we discuss these structural stages, you actually know which specific one applies to your body. Keep it small, keep it specific, and keep it real. Now, I genuinely want to know more about who is watching tonight, because where you currently sit on this metabolic timeline shifts substantially depending on your decade of life. Please drop a comment below and let me know. Are you in your 50s, your 60s, your 70s, or beyond? After the age of 70, some of these internal metabolic mechanisms begin to behave a bit differently, and that shift alters which of these specific foods I would prioritize for your daily meals. Leave your decade in the comments section. I read through them personally, and they directly shape who I write the next video for. Here is the core message I want you to retain as you walk away today. Your liver is not begging to be cleansed by a commercial product. It is simply asking to be unburdened. It has been faithfully executing 500 quiet jobs for you every single hour of your life without a single complaint. Tonight you learned how to interpret its structural timeline, from the soft stage to the smolder and finally to the place where the tissue hardens. Most importantly, you learned the exact window where the fork on your plate can still completely alter the ending of the story. That window is wide open right now. Go put something green on tomorrow's plate, and I will see you in the next video.